Thank you so much. Our last session for today is moderated by Jill Darling, and it is on sampling. So Jill, I'm handing it off to you.
Great. All right. Thanks, Tara. All right. So this is, as Tara said, a session on sampling. We have 3 presenters today, starting with Winnie Teng. She has been with the Social Research Center since 2015 and has more than a decade of experience as a data analyst in data development, reporting, user interface design, solution automation, and data visualization. She was the main analyst who developed the Social Research Center's Life in Australia database in 2016, and she now manages a team of data analysts and data scientists and drives innovation and best practices in the application of data science methods and tools. She's presenting on probability panel segmentation for flexible sample selection. I'll hand it off to you, Winnie.
Yep, good day everyone. Can I just make sure everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Yep, okay, cool. Yep, yes, my name is Winnie and I'm from the Social Research Center. I'm the data science manager in SRC and I lead a team of data analysts and data scientists. Our team mainly work to provide data science solutions to support complicated sample design, implementation of complex methodologies and systems, apply advanced data science methods in data preparation to assist data collection and data analysis. Today, I'm here to present to you a piece of work that we did last year, which is the title of my presentation today, the probability panel segmentation for flexible sample selection. Or in short, panel segmentation. Yep. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge some of my team members who are actively involved in this project. Diana is the main developer for this solution, and Ben and Dina are our main internal client who came to us with the concept and requirement. So just a brief introduction to our Life in Australia panel. Life in Australia is Australia's only probability-based panel established since 2016. They were recruited exclusively using random probability-based sampling methods and covers both online and offline population. As of January 2021, we have slightly over 4,000 active members. All our panel members are invited to participate in the monthly waves, and we have about 3,000 completes per month. Our target length of our survey is 15 minutes with incentive incremented at 20 minutes. Most of our panel as of January 2021 are mostly online. Offline panel members are interviewed via CATI or phone calls. And as for our client, they are mainly government, academic, or non-profit clients. So panel segmentation. In mid-2019, our statistician came to us with this idea of panel segmentation. The main motivation behind this is to ensure we have a close adherence of achieved life in Australia samples to population norms for part panel waves, and also to improve the sample efficiency while equalizing the burden across panel members within the strata. So that the problem is when we are selecting samples for part panel waves, we risk to have some panel members selected more frequently than the others, and some might rarely get selected for any studies. So the request that we received was to have a mechanism to support multiple surveys within a single wave. And it has to allow the panel to be split into segments, and yet the split has to inherit coverage and representativity properties of the panel while equalizing the panel members' survey load. So in short, we are trying to avoid the same panel member for each survey or to control the sample overlap. Before I continue further, I would like to acknowledge that the approach followed by the SRC here is based on the one used by EmerySpeak, a US probability-based online panel founded and operated by NOC at the University of Chicago. To illustrate panel segmentation, we use the layer cake as an analogy. So panel is treated like a full cake, and panel segmentation is our attempt to split the cake into equal sized cupcakes. Introduction to permanent random numbers. So PRN is introduced to Life in Australia panel member to reduce the problem of strata burden Each of the panel member is assigned a PRN from a uniform distribution in the range of 0 to 1. They are created with maximum precision with double precision floating point. Panel members' PRN will be retained for their life in the panel. So this is an example of the PRN assigned to each of the panel member in our database. Each panel member in the panel is then stratified based on several demographic characteristics. In SRC, we stratified our panel members on age, education, and gender. This PRN strata is defined to manage the sample selection, and they are to be created and refreshed annually. So the high level of the solution is that when we select the stratified random sample from the panel, we select within the sampling strata, keeping the first and the last PRN for each of the stratum, and then use this value to inform what is the starting point for the next sample. So just to make it a bit clearer for everyone, in wave 42.1, which is the part panel wave, we selected the first 4 panel from stratum 1 and the first 8 panel members from stratum 2. When we come to the next sample, the logic has to be smart enough to start from the 5th panel member in the database and the 9th member from the stratum 2 from the database, and so on and so forth. So we have decided to develop this solution in SSRS, or SQL Server Reporting Services. It is a report generating software system from Microsoft SQL Server Services suite. It's administered via the web interface. One of the biggest advantages is it allows the user to interact with the information independently without involving the technical team. And the output can be easily exported into various formats like Excel or text file. Live in Australia in the SRC is currently residing in SQL database. So this is one of the most straightforward solutions for the ease of data integration and data management. So this is an example on how the sample selection report look like. We have tried to design it to be as intuitive as it can be. So the first part of the report actually shows the profile variable filters where the users can enter the filters that they intend for this sample selection. And then the report will show the total panel members fall under the profile variable filters, and user can then enter the total records that is required for this sample. The next part of the report shows the total record counts in each of the stratum after applying the profile variable filters. And the next one shows the total panel members after applying the overall percentage on each of the stratum. Finally, we will tell the users how many records we have selected after applying the overall percentage. So in this particular example, the user required 100 panel members to be selected, and we have selected 101. Yes, and then they can click on the view report button to review and output the report. So this is an example of the sample selection report output related to the previous example. In the output, the report shows the total records selected for each of the stratum with their starting and ending PRN stored in the database. And these numbers will be used to inform our next sample selection. In a very high level process flow, we filter the panel member based on the selected profile variables. We get the previous wave's ending PRN for each of the stratum from the log table and our tracker table stored in our database. We calculate the current wave's starting PRN and the record counts required for each of the stratum. And then we insert the filter records into the database, starting from the PRN recorded in the tracking table. So this all seems to be a very simple report or a simple solution. However, the implementation was rather complicated through the introduction of strata, the need to update the panel members' characteristics using the stratification, to segment the subpopulation within the panel. For example, we only want to select one state instead of the whole country, different sample fraction within the same stratum, and etc. There's a lot of time and effort spent to test and to develop a very flexible solution to cater most of the requirement. In the SRC, we have tried this for several part panel waves, and it has increased our efficiency and reduced the human error by doing manual selection. So this is the end of my presentation, and this is the reference that we use on a PRN concept by NOC. Yep, I hope you have enjoyed our journey in developing this very interesting solution. And I'm happy to take any question or any feedback on our approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Okay, we do have a question. Looks like the first one is sample fractions can be controlled by any variable only selection mechanism is random within stratum. Am I not sure what the question is? Dina, do you want to frame the question?
I was answering Mansoor's question about differential attrition with respect to any demographic characteristics. So we're just saying that we can control sampling fraction or sample selection by any variable, but the random selection is within each stratum because we can't ahead of time randomly stratify across any variable. So we have to decide on stratification variable, and then we can select within those strata to any specifications that the user has.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina.
Any other questions? I had a question for you. Did you have any problems with this approach? Is there anything that has been giving you trouble with using these PRNs? I was wondering about like bringing in new sample and integrating. I mean, have you had any issues with it?
Yeah, there were a lot of technical issues when we were trying to develop this solution. One of the biggest challenge is the tracking mechanism in the database backend to keep track of all the numbers, because we are requested to produce a report on each of the panel members selected for each of the sample and for audit purposes. So with that, we actually have to record a lot of things in the database, and it is quite complicated. Our database actually, the design actually added extra tables for many tracking and logging for each of the sample.
Thank you. This is something we tackled as well in the Understanding America study, and we've got Marco on here. He devised a system for us too. I'm interested to talk to him later about how this compares.
Yeah, we're happy to calibrate or share more of our experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Then I think we can go ahead and go on to the next presentation.